Hello, welcome to Flory Models. I'm Philip Flory. Well, probably our biggest, most expensive, definitely, build we've ever done here. You've probably seen I've done a little bit of hype over this over the last few months. I managed to get a hold of an Angrid kit. Now this is the Star Destroyer from the original Star Wars film. Basically what happened is they took a mould from the original of this scale. Obviously they did the Star Destroyer in various different scales and sizes depending on how it was needed for the film. They took this particular scale, which is 2,200 or 1 to 2,236, I think it is, something else like that, for this particular kit. It's very old. It's the first thing you need to know about it. They only made 100 of them, and apparently only 97 were actually sold. There is copies of this around, so you can still get this kit, where some unscrupulous people what they've actually done is they bought one of these kits and they've moulded them themselves. I can tell this is one of the originals because of references I found on the internet. The easiest way to know is that if it looks very old resin, then it is an original. If it looks quite new, the resin looks quite new and everything else, the chances are it's not. Also, the way that the actual scribing lines are in, if they're quite softly done, chances are it's a copy, that somebody's copied one of these, made a master and done it again. This particular one you probably see on the overhead, and certainly the side ones, you can probably see that is very, very sharp. Okay, so this is how I know this is actually one of the genuine original ones versus some of the others, because I've seen another one of these which is in grey, which was obviously the biggest clue that I thought that, you know, it's not a legit one. But also when you looked at the panel lining, it's very, very softly done, so I imagined it had been done many, many, many times. So just be careful. Obviously if you just want one, you can get one of them a little bit cheaper, probably off of Fleabay, something else like that. But if you want one of the original ones, it does take a bit of hunting, and to be honest, this was a 2-year search for me to get one at the right price anyway. Speaking of price, spoken about it before, because it cost me £100 in shipping to get it here. It's resin, it's a big box, it's very heavy, another £100 in customs charges. All told, this thing has come in around about £700. Then we're going to do various work to this one, which will include this stuff, which is blinding me. It's never that bright on camera, but certainly it is here. I have it plugged into the mains, so we're going to be doing this a little bit electrical way. So we're going to be using this. Now this is internal, not the outside one covered in rubber. This is the inside one. It's got LEDs printed onto it like this. It's self-adhesive on the back, and this is how we're going to light our Star Destroyer. Now if you wanted to, obviously you could paint over the actual LEDs. They're cool, they never get hot. This is the thing with it, it's resin. You don't want to put a good heat source inside it because it's going to melt, okay? And certainly if it's a bulb and things like that, what can happen over time, if the bulb fails, you've got to try and get back into it. I intend to have this thing buttoned up tight, and it'll be a one trip. Once it's all in there, then we'll be good to go. But instead of doing fibre optics, which is the traditional way of doing it all, I'll just unplug this because I'm being blinded. What happens is with this particular one is we're going to be using LEDs, and we're going to be putting holes into the superstructure of this and letting the light naturally come through. The thing I like about doing it that way, like I do the inside of cockpits and things, you get that natural look. So i.e., depending where your head is will depend on how much light you'll actually see. And obviously there's a time factor, because obviously we'd have to come in. That's the top, here's the bottom. We've got a situation down in here where we've got the bars coming up, so we're going to have to drill through these, and we're going to drill through these to get them to go on, because obviously it will be all internals like this. It's going to take a little bit of work, so this way we can literally just come along literally with a Dremel and just put holes into it and let that light naturally come through, instead of having to string it all up with fibre optics. In the old days, I think fibre optics were the only way to do it, because you couldn't put in bulbs everywhere because they're just too big. This day and age, with certainly seed LEDs, which are the tiny little ones like dust particles, and ones like these, they are so bright that you can just line them up on the inside of this and we'll be good to go. The other thing we're going to be doing with it is giving it a little bit of superstructure, because the trouble we have with this is, again, it's very old resin, and the trouble with resin is over time it will warp. Sometimes it will physically sag. This, as we know, is almost 3 feet long. It's going to be sort of, you know, almost 2 foot wide. It's over time, I imagine it's going to have a bit of a stressful time on weight. Even if you've got it on a type of stand which supports it all, you could have problems. So what I've got here is some brass tubing. It's very strong. It goes inside each other. So the idea is I've got various sizes. So what we can actually do is use a smaller part as a join in the middle, put it along, solder it up, and we can give this a type of superstructure inside to help it cope with weight and things like that. The other point is how we're going to mount this one. I don't want to just do the original sort of, you know, bung it on a pole and away we go. I don't think that's very realistic. What I would like to do is give it a mounting point to the rear, so it can be on either a bracket coming down, so it gives that effect that it's floating, or from the side. So what I intend to do is have a situation where the superstructure will have this inside. So what you could do then is, obviously you've got your pole like this, it will go on, slide onto it, and there's no movement in there. So it's completely rock solid, because these tubes go into each other really nice. They're very like telescopic. It's just where I've got all the different sizes, but you might be able to see in there it's bunged up, but that's just because it's one size smaller than the other. And that's how I intend to make the sort of superstructure for it. Going together itself isn't going to be too much of a problem. It's resin, so you've got a couple of things to think about. First of all is obviously health and safety. When you're sanding this stuff, make sure you've got a mask on, or you do it outside, something else like that. It's not the type of thing where you can just have your spray booth running to get rid of any smells. This stuff is quite dangerous. You do not want it in your lungs, and because obviously you've got a lot of cleanup to do with this and to take care probably of a lot of problems, where I can imagine looking at it, I have got slight warpage with the kit. It's going to cause little bits of problems. So things like that we'll be covering. You might see, probably the best bit, I don't know how well you'll see it on this, but you catch this in the light, you can see it looks like, sort of down this area here, you can see it. It's like it's got a film over it in some areas. It looks like dried egg whites all over it. What this is the release foam agent that was put in. So the mould was obviously, you know, set down, it's got release agent put onto it, pour the resin in there, it dries, it comes out. Now 20 years ago that was probably fine and you wouldn't really have seen it, but now it's dried completely back and it's got this look. Obviously it's not going to take anything like paint very well having this on there, or it could just literally flake off and give us problems. So what we're going to need to do is get all of these parts individually washed extremely carefully, because we don't want to put this into hot water, be too hot, and this literally turns into a floppy pancake as we pull it out, because we've just ruined our parts. Obviously I don't intend to buy another one of these. So that's it. So we've got a few things I'm going to do with it. Generally it's going to be a case of the superstructure and the lighting. Going to take a bit of time to do that. There's a few other bits and pieces I'm going to do. You might see this side's pretty good, but you might be able to catch some of these details. All it literally is layers of plastic I'll put on, but a few of them where they've been in the box for a long time. A good example of it here, you get like a white spot. That's where it's been sheared off and knocked off. Okay, because where it's been sticking up. So what I want to do is obviously replace those. So we get out some plasticard very carefully, and we're going to replace any that are damaged or that have certainly been snapped off. This one's just been sheared completely off. But as you look around the actual model on here, there is a few little problems with it. We have got some breakages, as we spoke about in the review. So we've got problems where we've got it where it's completely snapped off. But again, we know for a fact that being resin, it's very easy to fix and go in, but it needs strengthening. You might notice how well the camera picks this up, certainly from above, but this is pretty well bent, so we're going to have to do some straightening up as well. Getting parts straight, again, we'll be showing and covering that into warm water, pulling it out, putting it onto a jig to make it flat, and wherever is needed. There's no mass problems with this particular one, but certainly down the back here we've got a problem because this is actually bananaed and is coming up at the back, so we need to get this rear plate done for this upper superstructure. You can also see the release points on here, quite nasty, so these need to be sanded back and taken care of, and everything else. A lot of these are, what it is from the original when it was broken up to be put into make a mould. These are the original strengthening plates that came along. It's going to find the right ones where it's joined to. Okay, and these would have gone in somewhere like these, but as you can probably see from these underside ones, some of the parts down here don't exactly add up. You've got different areas where they're sort of stronger and things like that. So it's going to take a little bit of jiggling around. Instruction wise, you don't actually get any instructions to put these together. You're supposed to know. Okay, so something we've got to look at. We've got bags of little bits as well, so don't think it's just big bits as well. You do get all of these tiny little guys, and to be honest, what we've got down in this bag is all the guns. We've got various hosing and things like that in for the actual the bay itself. So here we got the sort of moon pull effect for that inner bay. So we've got obviously the clamping claw that comes down. We've got these are the believed to be the reactors. that sit on the top, or are they radar stations? Nobody seems to know that one. Okay, and things like that. So we've got lots of work to get on with. What I want to do first of all is get it completely washed and ready to go then. And then that way we know we've got all the parts completely dry and everything else. So let's move over to the kitchen. Okay, so first up, your water. So we've got a bowl here, and it is literally treat it like you would a baby, because if it's too hot, it will go. And the thing with resin, if you've ever put it into hot water, you'll know it's really strong and then it just goes, and then it's completely floppy. And if you're trying to get something, especially a complex shape, it's a triangle, some of these, to get it back will be a bit of a nightmare. So it is that thing, place your hand in it and you just want it to be lukewarm. Being lukewarm, what that's going to do is it will just help break up any film that's on there. It will get into it quicker. Obviously, if you did it in cold, not a lot's going to happen, so it just needs to be warm. So what we've got here is one of our plates. So we've got a drop of fairy liquid, literally washing up dishwater soap. We're going to pop that in, okay, and then all we're going to do is just going to submerge it straight in, and then all I've got here is quite a soft sort of 2-inch brush, and we're just going to give it a little rub. Now it's quite tough, so we don't have to worry too much, but what this will do, it will just get that film off of the parts, okay, and this will get into all the nice grooves and things like that, and it will just help speed things up. Okay, now what you want to do is get that off then, so all we do is got cold water, and all we're doing is rinsing it all completely off. And to be honest, you'll know when you've done a good job because it literally just beads. So you've got no actual, you know, where it's smearing around. So that means you've done its job. Then it's just a case of grabbing a tea towel, and you want to pat dry. Remember, don't scrub it because you're likely to pull out all this stuff off. So literally just pat it dry and do it like this. Now you could use kitchen roll and things like that, which will work really, really well. Just make sure it's a good quality one, because if it's not, what will happen is it will literally get fibres and they'll get stuck, and especially with this type of texturing that we've got round on here. And also what you're doing is giving this a bit of a birthday, because it's been around, it's been in a dusty box for all those years, okay? And then you're done. And then what you want to do is just leave this in a warm place, certainly not hot, certainly not direct sunlight, okay? So don't leave it on somewhere and then the sun comes around, because it's likely to melt it again. You know, we've all been there where we've had models and you leave them next to windows and they melt. Resin's no exception, it will happen just the same. So you just want to place it to one side, let it dry naturally, okay? And then you can come back and do it again. So we'll just do this last piece. So we've got quite a large bit down here. So again, we're just going to pop him in and just give him a gentle rub all over, and you'll be surprised the difference it makes. Certainly I can see the difference straight away with these, because it's giving it a real clean, sharp, fresh, looks almost new look to it, okay? So we do it just like that. Back to the cold water. Okay, just be careful you don't bash it or knock it or anything else like that. Inside as well. Last time we ended up with bubbles. Okay, and just be careful how you're handling it. Don't smack it against the tap. Let's face it, it does happen. Okay, but we don't want any cracks or any problems as we're doing this one. But just avoid scrubbing and just pat it dry. And being just water, it should be absolutely fine. What you could do, just to make sure, come along with your airbrush and just blow air, fresh air, high pressure all over this, just to get rid of any bits and pieces on it. So I'm going to carry on and do all the bits. So we've got all the parts over here still to be done, get them all washed, and then we can get on. Okay, so back into here. All the parts have been drying for a couple of hours. As I said, went along with an airbrush, just blew out all the water out the grooves and everything else. And the first thing you notice is, or hopefully you'll see, they have a real nice look to them, and certainly a feel as well. They don't feel greasy or sort of dusty and old plastic. It's got that nice crisp feeling of resin again now, which is really, really nice. So what we need to do now is really go around and clean up all the parts, which is quite a huge job on this. The big thing is that there's going to be no right and wrong to this. If you have got hold of one of these kits, don't think they're all going to be the same, because I can imagine them being each one will be slightly different due to warpage, due to obviously the way they come out of the mould, what flash has been removed and whatnot. Now they're all quite flashy, they've all got various bits over them. The big thing you notice is when you come along, and we got like a bit at the top here, you might notice we've got a very jagged edge along the bottom here. You might be able to see we've got a tab on the top, but the edges carry on. But if you were to, this is the part, try and marry this up, what's going to happen is you're going to have a huge gap like this, and it just doesn't fit at all well, okay? It should sort of be in here, but you've got that top in there and everything else. So what you need to do is get in there and tidy all these parts up. Now the point to this, we were saying quite healthy, resin dust is not very nice at all. Now I've done a couple of bits just to show you, but rest assured, as soon as we cut from this, I'm taking this all outside, as you can see, quite a nice sunny day out there, respirator on, and I'm going to sand it out there. First thing you can do, make sure you use a coarse grit sanding stick, okay, because that will limit the amount of dust you get. It will make bigger fibres. It will cut through this really easy. Being resin, it's very easy to sand. It's probably one of the nicest things to sand, okay? But what you can actually do then is work your way around it. So just keeping this on the 90 degrees, we're just going to come in and we're looking for areas that are and aren't there. For this one, it's a very nice straightforward straight edge, so we know this needs to be straight as well. So we just hack through this. Just to square it up a bit. And as I say, we've got a little tab here at the top, which in our case just easily breaks off. But what I've got here is a cut down razor saw, which will just make this slightly easier, because I can just literally hoof it in here and we can cut down this top part, because obviously you've got a brace point in here. So all we're going to do is, this is why it's cut down, so I can do little areas. Okay, so that just comes along like that. And then this cuts in. Okay, and we can just come up. Okay, just a little bit more sanding to do here. Now we know it's not going to be a perfect fit, because the original, the way it was cut up, it was sort of hack and slash. But as you can see now it needs a little bit more fitting, but you can see that joint is far, far better and is exactly what we want. So you're going to have to go around and do this to all the parts. So basically it's test fitting a million times. Okay, you've also got a little bit of flash running down in these areas here, you can see them. Those all need to be taken care of. Just remember to do it from the more detailed side up. So as you can see them here, just so you're not cutting into the detail itself. So we use a coarse one just to get going, and then when we're getting closer, I just flick this over to a finer grit just to take care of those. Okay, and then working your way around absolutely everywhere. Some of these areas like this inside, that's got to go, that shouldn't be there, because I imagine this will not, as you can see, it doesn't fit on here at all, so it needs to sink into it and go in. And then other areas which are a little bit more complex, these areas down in here, they need to be cleaned out. We've already done another one. I've already done this one, because what you actually had is tabs in here and they need to be cut off and put in to get the docking bay put in, which gives you a very nice joint like this. Okay. What we're going to do slightly different than what we've done before is, instead of coming in with standard filler, okay, I'm going to attempt to use resin as a filler on this, purely because we have got some cracks in the resin. So I'm just going to find out which one it is in. It's here. For instance, another good thing here, you see these tabs, they've all got to go as well. And again, test fitting, see what they are, see if they're not, and everything else, because you can overdo it. And if you overdo it, that's a real problem. It's better to underdo it and then take out little bits as you go. But certainly you see these tabs here, those all have to go to make it sit correctly down in there. But anyway, what you need on here is, we've got to find the area, you may be able to see it, which camera angle picks up, this corner here. This side might get it slightly better, but we've got a crack running down in there. Now to get filler in there will be a little bit of a problem, so what I'm going to do is knock up some thin resin, okay, and then put it and track it down in there. That way it will give us greater strength, because you might be able to see on the inside it's got the crack, but we have got some areas on here which I'm a little bit worried about. You might be able to see down in here we've got a crack, and generally find the other areas. That one's not too bad. I'll find out where they are here. Bear with me, I had them all here earlier. But you've got some areas where we've got little cracks appeared. So we've got this one down here and things like that. So it's things like that I'm going to take care of. I'm going to pour a little bit more resin into them just to make them stronger, because obviously the liquid resin will be stronger. Got another one down here appeared. Now they don't go through, but I just want to make sure this is as strong as it can. The other thing, of course, what we're going to need to do is stop any light bleed coming through with this. So what I'm going to have is situation, we'll build up the bottom half, get it put into position, and then we're going to brush a resin into it, okay, so it makes a perfect seam stronger. I'm going to put in some reinforcing into it as well, so it's not going to go absolutely anywhere to this. So the reinforced bars, they'll be resined into place, all held into place, and then obviously sanding and cleaning up resin is really easy and very, very straightforward. Then once we're on with that, we can move forward. But what I'm trying to do here is get out all those nasty jobs first, because quite frankly, said resin's horrible stuff to work with. It's dusty and messy. So what I'm going to do is go round and fix and test fit everything all into position now, because some things just aren't even close at the moment, because you've got these big blocks sat down here, and then what happens is if you try and fit in the bottom, because you've got them on the front of this one as well, it's just no way, okay? What I want to do is to be able to put this sort of together, knowing that all the messy jobs, all the sanding, and is all taken care of, and then that way you can push on with it quite nice. But it's getting this horrible out of the way. It's going to take many, many hours really testing, sorting out, making sure everything's okay. Then what we're going to do is fix a few of the problems, and then we're going to get the old hot water out and stop our banana shape here, and try and get that straightened out a little bit, because the thing is, you can obviously super glue it in place, okay, or hot glue it, no matter which way you're going to do this, but the trouble is it's putting stress onto the model. Yeah, if it all fits in, it's no problem, and especially on something like this, which is pretty, you know, mathematical. It's all straight lines, 90 degrees, 45 degrees, you know, and everything else with this one, so it's quite an easy shape to work with. That's the one we want to strengthen up as well. We've got these panels you can see at the bottom. They are obviously these panels in here. We just want to reinforce it, make sure it's all good. Got a little bit of lifting you can see down here on this one, so I just want to make sure all of these areas are as good as they can be, and as strength as they can be, because obviously I do intend for this to be around a lot longer than I am, so we don't want it to be falling apart in sort of 20-30 years time and all the rest of it. So let me get on with this one. I'm going to take this lot all outside on the table outside, get some respirator put on, sanding sticks, also any rescribing that may need doing. Now we are very lucky on this. As you can probably see, the level of detail is absolutely gorgeous. Really no problems with it at all. Got a little issue on this one which I can point out quite clearly. Probably side cam might do this. So I'll drop the top cam and then you can show you. One thing we have which shows it's not a copy is if we look at, you might be able to see this lineage here. In fact, it's this first half down. All the panel lines got a little wobble to them, so I don't know how well the camera is actually getting this. Hopefully you can see it. Let's just try and drop it a tiny bit more before the camera has a fit. But you might be able to see it's got a little shimmy to it. Okay, it's where it's pulled from the mold, because when you look at its brother, find his brother, which will be this one here. So this is our one with the little wobbles on it, and then if you compare the same parts with the other side, these don't have them at all. Okay, and also for the guys who are thinking these are mirror copies of each other, they're not, because if I can show you a nice little thing here. Okay, so if you look at this, is obviously the same thing. Over here you have the 1, over here you have 2, or 1 and 2. Okay, there we go, that shows them down there, but that wobble down the bottom isn't on this side at all, it's purely on this one on this side. All right, and little things we're going to have to take care of. You may have noticed we've got little chips on the corners, but they're pretty straightforward fixes with those. So what we're going to do now is get all the messy stuff out of the way, get it outside, get it all sanded, get it all air blown off, get the compressor on it, blow all the dust away, clean up certainly in here, and then we're ready to start fixing some of the little problems with the kit.